Where is Glenn?
I forgot.
We literally woke you up, didn't we, Glenn?
You did, dude. I was like, it's funny because I set an alarm on my watch and it went off and I still freaking just slept right through.
You answered the phone with DMT calls, though.
3, 2, 1, record. Thank you for
Really?
You're joking, right?
No, I'm not.
It's always Glenn. It's
Freaking
always
audacity.
Glenn.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 20 of 2023. Happy 5-9 Day for all you Mr. Robot fans out there. I'm Chris Louie, and once again have 2 sick kids home with me. In fact, I am once again the only healthy member of the household remaining. With me, I have my co-host, the hot dad who builds his immunity by licking doorknobs.
I have not licked a single doorknob, but I will say that your steady diet of Tito's and failure is working out for you. So good job.
It's Tito's and Taco Bell Diablo sauce. Get it right.
Oh, you mean fast food and failure? That's what it is. That's his secret ingredient, guys.
And we have Glenn Medina. Please do not throw your back out this week. We need you to come back next week.
What did I do? Did I throw my back out? Or is
That you're
somebody
moving
else?
heavy stuff this week.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Yeah.
That's a lie.
Yeah. No, it's tomorrow. So who knew a little, like I said, my youngest could have so much stuff, but should be fun. We'll see how it goes. Happy to be back, Chris and Brian. Thank you very much. So, Chris, tell me, why are the kids always sick? Oh, wait, I forget. They're always they're kids. They're licking doorknobs and whatnot.
They are kids, and they're always sick. Yes. Yeah, they're at that age where it would be unusual if they weren't sick.
Did they just come back from spring break?
No, just there's something going around the schools.
Yeah. Was it nice because during COVID they didn't have a lot of interaction with anyone, so they weren't getting as sick as they used to, or were they still getting sick during COVID?
That was a blessing and a curse. It was a double-edged sword. So they were not getting sick because we literally had no contact with anybody. But the moment they did go back, their immune system was so weak they were constantly getting sick.
Not good, but yeah. Sorry to hear they're sick, but it's good that they're building their immunity.
Yep, exactly. No guess this week. We are recording quite late at night, as you can tell from Glenn's voice. And Todd has a bedtime.
Oh, Todd.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience here, not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This week, we're going to talk about a cool new feature in the Brave browser, open with a blow against cybersecurity insurance companies, a clever way of smuggling information into Russia. For our third topic, former Uber CISO Joe Sullivan learns his fate, and close with Brian teaching us how to win a street fight.
I'm going to teach you guys? All right.
Brian, Street Fighter.
Brian.
Nice.
Step 1, be bigger than your opponent. You guys are screwed.
Good call. Before we get started, I want to share a pro tip for all you Brave browser users out there. I have this meme of Smokey the Bear in my favorites folder, and whenever Glenn or someone in the group chat sends me a URL link with the question mark UTM at the end with a tracking link, I always send them that meme that says, only you can trim off the question mark UTM BS off the end of a link before sharing.
I'm not the only one that sends that. Let's get that straight now.
And I did. I said whenever Glenn or someone in the group chat, it just happens to be Glenn a lot.
Glenn, is this a creature of this? I'm just trying to vibe, man. I don't want to.
No, it's because what we watch. I watch YouTube a lot, and you do IG. There's no links in IG because you just share it in IG directly, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't know because I stopped sending you stuff on IG.
Yeah, because you never watched and never commented.
He doesn't even know how to log into it.
Well, it's tied to Facebook, and I don't like Facebook right now, so I'm not going to log in.
Yeah, does anybody?
Anyways, the question mark UTM BS at the end is really annoying and allows the website to track you. I just discovered that Brave browser has a feature in it. If you highlight the URL and you right-click it, there's a new option called Copy Clean Link. Yet another reason to love the privacy-centric Brave browser.
I smell an ER for Island. We should make that happen.
Sounds
Think
like
about
it too.
Glenn's going to get right on that. For our opening topic this weekend, King Charles III was coronated as the king of... Yeah, nobody cares about that, so let's dive into our first topic. What's funny about that is I did not even know that was going on since I mostly watch and listen to business news. The only reason I knew it was happening was when one of my customers with a multinational presence asked to make sure we had enough bandwidth to handle all the users around the world streaming the live event. The answer is yes, we had plenty of bandwidth.
So who's this Charles guy? I don't understand. King of what?
You'd know him if you knew who his former wife was. Princess Di.
Oh, the car crash guy. Girl.
Yeah,
All
car
right.
crash girl. Yeah, so.
Didn't this happen a long time ago when the Queen of England kicked the bucket? No?
Well,
Yes,
I think it's an official day, right?
exactly. Yeah, so he was, you could think of him as the king-elect, but it didn't take effect until this past Saturday.
Why did they wait till you're right. Nobody cares. Moving on. Yeah, we had a lot of bandwidth. We have a lot of bandwidth. We're all 10 people probably watching it.
20.
True. For our first topic, this is a closing the loop on a story we did last year about pharmaceutical company Merck suing their insurance carriers over $1 billion, billion with a B, over the NotPetya
Time out,
attack.
Chris. Time out. We don't have to say billion with a B anymore. Everyone knows this is a B. Like, well, when it's a T, we'll start saying, trillion with a T. It's always a billion now. So, this stylistically, let's just get it together here, boys.
Is it because it's just so big now that we're used to it?
It's so common. Like, nobody cares about a million, right? It's like,
You know what's
$1
cool
million,
now?
like Dr. Evil.
Billion. You're playing your Justin Timberlake from The Social Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad I interrupted that. But yeah, so you're talking about the NotPetya attack in 2017.
Yeah, well, the final verdict is in, and Merck won their case against their insurers, and the insurance companies are now on the hook for $1.4 billion. Merck's insurance company argued that the NotPetya cyber attack constituted an act of war, and therefore they were exempt from paying because of a clause in their contract not paying out due to acts of war. Merck successfully argued that it was not an act of war, and that the exclusion should be narrowly interpreted to the traditional meaning of a kinetic war, not a cyber war. An appellate court in New Jersey agreed with Merck, and this is another victory for companies against their insurance companies who tried to get out of paying using the war exclusion clause.
Well, I don't think there was a kinetic war or a cyber war associated with this attack, so I smell like what is their evidence? Right, this is a war. They're like, okay, well, prove it. We're like, well, I don't really have any evidence other than I just had a really bad day. Their lawyer was not Johnny Cochran. That's all I know. That guy would have got him the money.
The guy's dead anyway. He would not have been alive to litigate this case.
Johnny Cochran's dead? Oh, man. Pour out.
Is this news to you, Brian?
Yeah. Pour out a 40-year-old Johnny.
Shows the Kardashians' father.
Rob. Is it Rob?
Oh, who
The
knows?
dad?
Yeah.
Just like the king got coronated, so yeah.
This is like this is a terrible defense. Or I don't even know, but whatever. I'm glad they're paying for it. Or they're not. They are. Yes, they are paying the $1.4 billion. I just want a slice of that.
Yeah, very similar to the attacks on 9/11. I think there are two cases actually to relate to 9/11. There's one case. The first case was it an act of war? Was this the opening salvo in the war against terror and therefore excluded? And then also when World Trade 1 fell and World Trade 2 fell, was that two separate attacks and two separate events, or was that one separate event because it was one attack? Because insurance companies cap the amount that they can pay for any one single event. So if it was one event, it would have been capped. If it's two events, they got to pay double. So I think they were litigating that for quite some time. I don't remember how that one ended, though.
Well, that one, they actually had evidence. There was a war. For 20 years, we were battling this nonsense. So, I just watched Pearl Harbor the other day with my daughter. And number one, I had never actually even seen that movie. So, holy crap, did we get our butts handed to us?
Is this
like
the
we were
Josh
sleeping at the wheel.
Hartnett one?
Oh, God.
Yeah, and Ben Affleck.
That's a terrible representation of the...
You could have watched like Tora, or one of those.
Yeah.
Well, we're just bored, right? Anyways, you know what movie is coming out? I think it's Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Chris
The
Nolan.
nuclear? Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. That's weird.
So you're going to tell me the Jordan movie is real? Based on true facts?
Oh, the Ben Affleck one on Prime?
Yeah.
Matt Damon.
Haven't seen that one. I'll have to watch it.
I've lost all respect for you, Brian.
you took the love story with Josh Hartnett as historical fact.
Hey, all I'm saying is it was enough to pique the curiosity to start Googling around. Like, well, how many people did we actually, what was the win-loss ratio? Like, they didn't even have a comma in their deaths versus the American casualties. Like, it was wild. And then we went out and dropped the A-bomb, which was, holy crap, that's wild. 135,000 people dead. I don't know how that dude sleeps at night.
It was a sneak attack, Brian, in their defense. It was a sneak attack. Nobody was prepared. Bombers were out of place. We couldn't mount a counteroffensive, but we did get them at Midway, so we did win one back for our team there. That was our sneak attack.
Yeah. Still wild, though. Anyways.
There's
enough
also
about this war stuff.
I just want to... One more fact on Pearl Harbor. It's interesting. So very similar to how there's this contingent of people that says 9/11 was an inside job. Clearly it wasn't. There's a whole commission that says it wasn't, if you believe the government. But for Pearl Harbor,
where are you at in this?
Is a contingent of conspiracy theorists that says FDR knew ahead of time that Japan was coming and let Pearl Harbor happen so that America could enter the war. So that's another... Similar to the JFK assassination stuff, there's some people that believe that actually happened, and I think they might have found evidence that some radio station out in the middle of nowhere tried to radio and warn Pearl Harbor. They have evidence of that communication, but it never got received by Pearl Harbor, or if you believe it, the communication was received and ignored, or another interesting theory for what actually happened on Pearl Harbor.
Love a good conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
There's one for your YouTube down the rabbit hole, Glenn.
Oh, God. I've been there. I've watched many. I've been watching a lot of... Have you guys watched the minutes as times happens on YouTube as far as how things happen at Pearl Harbor? There's a little...
Obviously,
like a 45-minute YouTube video where they have the ships placed and the airplanes and like a minute-by-minute replay. So
is Josh Hartnett in that version, Glenn?
Not at all. It's little stick boats. I doubt
that Brian hasn't watched it then.
Yeah, it's little stick boats. No love story in this one. It's just...
So if we're going to be casting aspersions here, Glenn is the type of guy that, like, when you're on a flight going cross country, he's sitting there watching videos on his iPad with no headphones, just blaring loud.
That's right.
He's that old guy.
And it's got to be porn that's on there too, right? So
that would be weird. That would be weird.
All right, since
we were right here, you just took it to a whole nother level.
A little bit off the rails for our second topic, and I like this second topic a lot. After the March 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russia was quick to cut off access to international media to control the narrative of the, quote, special operation in Ukraine. Leave it up to the PC gaming community to find a way to import that information into Russia and bypass censorship rules there. As first reported by PC Gamer, a custom Counterstrike global offensive map named De Vanya, I guess it's DE Vanya, resembles the ruins of a Slavic city featuring an underground bunker that players can visit to access information about the war in Ukraine. So players play on this map. Instead of killing each other, they know to go to the secret room in the basement. And in this room in the basement, there are images and text that detail incidents in the war and atrocities and stats about the war, including Russian troop deaths, civilian casualties, and mass murders committed by Russian troops. While this is one part censorship bypass and one part publicity set, you really have to admire the ingenuity and tenacity of the Ukrainian people and the press to get this information into Russia. Since the flow of information into Russia is heavily controlled, most Russian citizens have no idea about what their country is doing in Ukraine right now.
So I'm definitely in favor of this, and you and freaking Rob got me. I won't call it war TikTok, but at least war Instagram, right? Where I'm coming across these videos of soldiers shooting videos of all the craziness that's going on out there. And I'm tell you what, if you haven't seen war, it ain't like the TV, man. Like it is, it's eerie, it's violent, it's scary, terrifying, all the above. So yeah, more people need to know. That's for sure.
Yeah, pretty ugly. So, I mean, I've watched a couple of videos of them. I don't know who's dropping like drones with grenades, hand grenades on them, and they're dropping them from so many, from up above, and they're hitting these bunkers and whatnot. It's pretty scary. Like, just can't tell.
And at that point, you got to hope you're dead, right? Like, do you really want to be maimed the rest of your life? That'd be wild.
And I didn't realize how popular CSGO is short for Counterstrike Global Offensive. I didn't realize how popular CSGO was in Russia. So CSGO is the most popular game on Steam right now. And 1 in 10, so about 10% of the players are Russian. So it's a very popular game in Russia. But I think as this stories like this gain publicity, Russia's just going to shut it down. They're just going to turn off Counterstrike then.
Well, yeah, it's that little gopher game, right? It's gets out. It's a whack-a-mole, right? Just. Can
you imagine they start going around door to door, like, hey, B-word, I know you were playing this game. You just enlisted. Come shoot a gun for us.
In real life, yeah.
Yeah, in real life. Like, if you really wanted to know, now
in
you
real
know.
Life. Yeah, now you have an AK and go get the
What
bad guys over there.
Would they call this propaganda, you think? Counter-Strike propaganda?
Can they send that traffic through a VPN? Can they do that? Can you put gaming access through a VPN?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's actually a similar campaign called Torrents for Truth, where BitTorrent files for popular pirated content like Adobe Photoshop or Better Call Saul, something that they know Russians are going to download, they include text files and videos teaching Russians how to use VPNs to bypass censorship and a list of URLs with credible reporting on the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So even though this file is meant to pirate software, it's also meant to spread the news of these Russian atrocities for the Russian people.
I think I was watching one set of clips where they were inside of, was it the square outside of the Kremlin, right? And
Red Square.
News reporters were there, and I guess there was a whole bunch of people walking around as they're sitting there interviewing people. And if they said something off, soldiers would come or police would come and
they'd van you,
walk people away. Yeah, it's like
literally thrown in a van.
Yeah, and then just disappear real quick. And I was like, oh man, could you imagine doing that here? Like, well, it's kind of the same, but not the same. But yeah, just being silenced though, it's just amazing. And then you realize, like for me, I realize how good we have it here. Like you can still speak your mind, even though people are with you or against you. At least you can speak your mind to some level. It's more social people that knock you down.
There's definitely more freedom here than there is in Russia. We have at least that going for us.
What's fun is you can speak your mind in person around here, but if you do it online, you kind of get canceled. I've had some really, I wouldn't say edgy type of conversations since coming out of COVID with people that just resulted in this nothing but goodness that came out of it. So whatever. On a side note, I remember trying to do the Zeus Trojan malware, the man in the browser stuff.
Yeah. And
I finally got a hold of the working, source code and how to compile it, and everything was in everything was in Russian, so I had to use Google Translate to figure out what the hell was being said. So it's the opposite, right? And there was no text files and how to use a VPN. It was all about how to set up the malware, command and control.
And now a Russian command and control botnet is on your computer.
I'm waiting. I doubt it.
You think they backdoored that version of Zeus?
Yeah.
It's just like all those cracked versions of Cobalt Strike. It's a cracked version, but it's got a backdoor for whoever put it out there. Can never trust those crafty hackers.
I swear to God, I wish I could go back in time, like this, right at the beginning of the internet, and I just want to tear apart all the HTTP traffic. I would just have a field day. I remember getting cable internet at my apartment and just like going into the network neighborhood and seeing everyone's file shares out there in Arizona. I was like, if I just knew what I knew now, oh my God, like life would be wild. That or just buy a bunch of .com domain names. I don't
By
know.
Google.com, by eBay.com.
By fartbox.com. Never mind.
Did you ever use Firesheet back in the day?
Firesheet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't
the
that
cookie
Zone Alarm?
stealer. No, it was a plugin for Firefox, and back when Facebook and MySpace were all
yeah.
HTTP, you could sit at a Starbucks, you could steal people's cookies in the clear, and if you had their explicit permission, you could steal their cookies in the clear and impersonate them and log in as them.
I used Cain and Abel when I was at Starbucks or a coffee shop, whatever it was. And that was pretty good. You just sit there and just watch all the images flying by of what people are looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were the good old days before everything got encrypted.
Yeah, not once I think, I wonder if there's like a username and password to, something's financial information here. Nope. I just want to see their MySpace page like an idiot.
I remember back in the
on
day.
Hot or Not, and then you just see them swiping through pictures of Hot or Not.
Oh my gosh.
I remember
back
back
7.9 on there.
I remember back in the day when you go to Black Hat or DEF CON and there was a wall of sheep. You can't even do wall of sheep now because it doesn't make any sense. Like nothing's coming across HTTP.
Yeah,
and they still have it, but what are you
yeah.
doing though? Unless you're doing SSL decryption, you're really not going to see anything, right?
Well, there's still that 1% of traffic that's in the clear, and there's some person that would still submit credentials through it.
Yeah. I just don't.
They'd probably be through some really weak protocol though. Like they have like an old mail client. They're like, I'm not trying to get rid of this. I've had it since AOL.
RC4 encryption.
Oh yeah, guys, we're doing a podcast right now.
For our third topic, the former Uber CSO, Chief Security Officer Joe Sullivan, who was found guilty of obstructing justice, he got away practically scot-free. So before the sentencing, prosecutors wanted 15 months in prison, which is still not that long with time served and good behavior and prison overcrowding here in California. 15 months was not a long time, but the defense wanted just probation, and that's what he got. He got 3 years of probation. In addition to the probation, Joe Sullivan must perform 200 hours of community service as part of his sentencing.
Wow, big old slap on the wrist.
Does he ever get to touch a computer again, or is he allowed to go be a CISO again?
Yeah, it's like Hackers, that movie Hackers.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you just drive around, pull over anywhere in San Francisco, do something with aluminum foil and smoke it, and then go rob a convenience store with no gun. Just walk out with whatever you want. And this guy is going to be doing community service. Makes complete sense to me, guys.
It's the fall.
San
Francisco. Fall of
Francisco.
humanity.
As Billy said, San Francisco, right?
So for those of you that might have missed our episode where we covered the story about Joe Sullivan, he was actually a former federal prosecutor. So the very office he worked for was the one that prosecuted him. He did lead security programs at eBay, PayPal, and Facebook before he ultimately took that job at Uber. And while this case may seem innocent on the face of it, it actually was really closely watched by many CISOs and CSOs and other cybersecurity leaders that were concerned about the potential liability for their decisions and disclosures related to these breaches and these security incidents. And we covered it at the time. So the verdict that CISOs really have nothing to fear. So as long as they follow the law for things like this, like mandatory reporting requirements, notifying your general counsel that you've been breached, like you'll be fine. Joe Sullivan got in trouble because he lied and obstructed the investigation, and there's a big difference with that.
He didn't take media training, so he could just, outright not answer the question. Like, did you not notify us of this? Like, man, sometimes corn doesn't come out of me the same way it goes in. Like, you could have been completely different.
Just deflect it, yeah.
Yeah, deflect. I don't know. It sounds to me like he was like kind of rest and best scapegoat. Obviously, he knew what he was doing. A little bit of community service, no big deal. Good for him. Loser.
And I heard it on another podcast. I don't remember which podcast it was, but Alex Stamos, he was the former chief security officer at Facebook. He actually advocated on Joe Sullivan's behalf because he worked for Joe Sullivan before. And Alex's position was there's no other person on earth than Joe Sullivan that's put more child predators behind bars than him. Because I guess he did a lot of good stuff when he was at Facebook. And Alex's defense was this was a moment of weakness for him. He did a lot of good that shouldn't, doesn't excuse what he did, but you should take that into consideration when sentencing him. Sort of like the Dominic Toretto defense. Remember at the end of, I think it was Fast and Furious 4? They said
we're family.
He caught the bad guy, and he used to hijack these trucks, and he used to be a bad guy in Street Race, but now he's a good guy. So they're pulling that kind of defense to have some leniency, ask the judge for leniency, and he ultimately got it. He's got to avoid jail time.
Was that just Fast and Furious 1, 2, 3, 4?
10.
10.
I think he said 4.
Fast 10, your seatbelts, yeah. So
that's actually funny. Good one, Glenn. Fast 10.
There's one Fast and Furious at the very end where the judge is sentencing him and they're busing him off to prison, and his crew comes and breaks him out. I think that was 4.
Yeah. Okay.
For our last topic, and it will be rotating topic every week. I think this one's going to be interesting. This one might actually run long because I've got actually a bunch here, but I want to hear what you guys have. What are some of your pieces of street advice? So how do you make people street smart?
Just pay attention. Head down into a phone, crossing the street. Love it. That's how you get run over. That's how you get robbed. Just common sense of paying attention to your surroundings, as people are just so involved in the things that they're doing on their device that they have no clue what's going on.
I agree with you on that. Yeah, put your phone down. Especially in New York, there's so much they're looking at. Like, there's so many wild things to see. Like, is that just the craziest person I've ever seen in my entire life? I have no idea.
Yeah, so some of these actually have stories behind it. So one thing is maintain your walking speed and look like you know where you're going. I used to work in San Francisco, like downtown San Francisco, and I'd get I should say there's people in downtown San Francisco that accost people all the time. This was 10 plus years ago, so even before the crackheads were walking around. And there were homeless people asking for money. There are people from like Save the Children or Amnesty International asking you to sign up. So it's a pretty common occurrence that people would just try to stop you. And as long as you maintain your walking speed, you don't slow down. Like, even if you make eye contact, like, you just maintain your walking speed, look like you know where you're going. And for the most part, they leave you alone. I think they target like the tourists, or they target people that slow down or might look a little bit interested. Those are the people that get talked to by these people, and they ask them for money or ask them to sign up. And then they have these high pressure sales tactics to try to get you to join their club. But just maintain your walking speed, and that's more than half the battle there.
Yeah, the look of fear. The look and smell of fear. Look at that guy. They'll give us money.
Yeah, it's just look angry all the time, like you just finished a 10-hour shift and you just want to go home. If you walk around looking like that, you'll be fine. No one's going to bother you.
I just walk around looking like I just found out I was adopted.
Well, you wear a shirt that says embrace violence, so I don't think anyone wants to walk up to you anyway.
It's always funny when people say stuff, though.
Yeah,
you can have some good conversations. Yeah.
Are you waiting for one day when someone's going to come up to you and go, listen, I don't agree, and starts yelling in your face? Have you had that yet?
Not yelling, but I've had people disagree, and so we just sit there and talk.
And so do you just tell them, like...
I stay calm. I stay kind. No, I'm just like... sometimes it boils down to like, oh, what you mean is like, embrace masculinity. I'm like, well, unfortunately, no one really knows what that means. Men are violent, and that's what I'm saying. Like you don't actually have that. And so she's like, all right, I think I understand what you're saying. All I'm saying to you, young lady, is if someone starts shooting, you'll be behind me, and I'll be going towards the threat. That's the difference between me and you. And she's like, all right, I get it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The other thing that's funny, I think you've heard me say this before, right? There's two ways you can get on a Southwest flight. You can be the guy that sits there, put your headset on, and kind of sits in a corner, or so that way no one will talk to you. But guaranteed someone will sit next to you. Or you can be the guy that looks happy and wants to talk with everybody, and no one wants to sit next to you because of that.
I just sit there and eat Doritos, and they ask him, like, if it's a big deal, it's like, hey, you want to lick the cheese off my fingers? I'm like, you're not sitting here.
Should go on there with some Jehovah's Witness pamphlets.
So my weakness,
the whole flight trying to get converted.
And then until the
weakness
Jehovah's Witness wants to sit next to you and says, "Hey, who are you from?"
What chapter are you on? Yeah.
There's something about me in particular. Maybe it makes the same for you guys. It doesn't matter what I look like, what I'm doing, how I'm dressed. If grandma sits next to me, we're talking for the next 2 hours. I just can't put my headphones in or try to pretend to be asleep and get out of that conversation. I always do it. It pains me, but whatever. Whatever. They're good people.
You're such a
you
nice
guys
guy,
ever
though,
get
Brian.
that?
Yeah.
It's Mr.
You're
Violent.
nice. Nice.
You're such a nice guy. Yeah. I make pretend I don't speak English, and then I just go to sleep.
Put your headphones in and watch an English speaking show with English subtitles.
No, I'm watching my soft porn. That's what I'm doing without my headset. So, according to Brian over here. Yeah.
Another one is, if you think you're being followed, never go straight home. I think that goes without saying. And we picked up a couple tips from our friend Igor from Black Cube from that episode of Darknet Diaries, and he had some interesting things about how to see if you're being tailed. Like his was super advanced counter surveillance things, but simple things. Make 4 right turns. If they follow you 4 right turns, you've made a big circle, and yes, you're being followed. But he said things like, go into a parking lot, exit the parking lot right away. If the car follows you through a parking lot, there's no one else doing that unless you're trying to lose a tail. There's things like that. And that actually happened to someone I know. They thought they were being followed. They did go home. They went into the garage. It wasn't a single family home. It was like an apartment building. The guy followed this person in, and then my friend shouted, "Hey, are you following me?" And then the guy's, "No, I'm not following you." And then I guess the guy tried to go out, but you need the garage door opener to get out. And it's like, how do I get out from here? He obviously was in a spot where he shouldn't have been. And I think the advice, if you think you're being followed, drive to a police station, drive to like a well-lit gas station with an attendant there and cameras there.
Don't know about that. How about you just pick up your phone, call 911?
That's true.
Stop being an idiot. Yeah,
that's true.
Well,
yeah,
now
also good advice.
But don't do that while you're driving, like with a handset on your hand.
We don't have that distracted driving nonsense in Arizona.
That's right.
Yeah.
Use Siri. Tell Siri to call for help.
Yeah. But that just goes back to just paying attention, right? Knowing your surroundings. Like, you should always look to see what's going on, what's around you. Pay attention to cars, pay attention to people. I don't get it. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little oblivious like that. Same thing with my son. I do think, like, if my wife would probably pick up on that, but I would be like, maybe go to the bank, right? And guy follows me home, comes to the house, and he's like standing outside the door with a box of condoms and a knife and wants to talk to my wife. I'm like, oh yeah, hold on, let me get her for you. Like, it's completely not paying attention at all.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've got a way, like, when I walk with my family through, let's say, San Francisco or any other city, right? When we're touring, I walk behind them. Do you guys? I walk behind them and to the right, slightly back. And I let them walk, and I circle around them just to make sure that no one's going to try and pull anything.
Yeah, that's the bodyguard stance. 2 steps forward, 1 step left. You can see exactly what's going on.
One time we were at a hotel, and I do the same thing, right? I just kind of far on the back, and my girls were walking at the time. They were probably like really young, probably 13, 14 years old. And there's the frat boys on top of the thing. They're like partying. They're like, "Hey girls, come up here, blah blah blah." And I was like, and I just instant pissed. I'm like, "They're 13 years old," and then all you hear in the background is, "Oh shit." The guy's just like, "Sorry, man," like this, Sorry,
you
Chris,
didn't be like, "Hey, is that
but
where the party's at? I'm on my way." Yeah.
On the note of not paying attention, if someone arguing with you is standing close and they all of a sudden look away from you, you are about to get sucker punched.
Yeah. So I never let anyone get within arm's reach. I don't know about you guys. I don't, arguing or not, like maybe I let Brian get close to hugging me, but that's pretty much, you're inside my little circle.
Keep your distance.
Yeah, that's right. Keep my distance. So, but Brian's such a friendly guy.
He is.
To protect and serve.
Another one is, actually observed this at RSA when we were up there in San Francisco. I want to say RSA was probably one of the bigger events that I've been to with total strangers and observing people when you're walking down the street with your phone, to your point, Glenn, of getting hit by a car, getting jumped by a crackhead. If you're on your phone and you need to absolutely do that in the middle of the street or in the middle of the show floor, stand with your back against the wall. Because even if you're looking down, you can see about 180 degrees in front of you and no one can sneak up behind you. But I see these idiots just walking in the middle of the street, standing in the middle of a sidewalk, about to get knocked over by someone, just staring at their phone down. Yeah. Anyone can just come behind you.
Chris minimizing his attack surface. Look at him.
Exactly.
Do you guys like try to pick where you sit down in the restaurant as well? Like back against the wall in the back of the restaurant with an escape plan?
100%.
Yeah,
We're going to look out.
Yeah.
Do you guys
have your back to the front door?
Yeah. So, Brian, when you were going to church, did you sit in the back of the church too, close to an exit?
I waited for that day. I just wanted to shoot it, right? I was like, let's go, man. I've been waiting for this thing my entire life. Wife, kids, you guys get in the ground. Dad's taking over.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I think like this. This is terrible. Is it terrible that we think like this?
That's the world we live in. So the next one is, I always knew this because I grew up in San Francisco. I grew up in the city. There was no question about this, but I think in other countries, in other parts of the country, the U.S. is not actually true. So number one, always keep your car locked. Just no exception. Your car is always locked when you leave it. Unless you're in a very, very high crime area, you don't want people smashing your window, then you just leave it unlocked with nothing in there. That's the one exception. And then the other one, lock your car as soon as you get inside. I can't even count how many smash and grabs there have been in San Francisco. People getting in their car, they put their purse on the chair next to them, and someone just runs up and steals it. Or when they're pumping gas, they leave their purse or their wallet on the chair next to them. Someone just runs up to the unlocked car, grabs it, and then runs away.
Yeah. So this is funny, right? So I live in a small town outside of San Francisco, 60, 70 miles away from Chris. No one locks their doors in the neighborhood, to be honest with you. The only people that lock their doors in the neighborhood are the people that moved from San Francisco. That live in the neighborhood.
The city mentality. Yep.
Like I would go pick up my kids, their friends, and I would drive them home, and I'd be like, "Hey, you got a key to the house? You gonna be okay?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't lock our door," and they just run inside. And it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night after they've had a day with my kids, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like these kids are just running around. So yeah. And then, go to the Midwest. No one locks their house or their cars because in fact, they leave their keys inside the car, right? Because they don't want to lose the keys. So this is definitely just a city thing.
Yep. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. There's also no repercussion.
They leave the door open. Come on in, right?
Yeah. There's no repercussion for doing what you do. I mean, I just grin and bear it driving a car into San Francisco, knowing that I'm going to get broken into. And it's like, if I make it out safe, I'm pretty happy.
It's like winning the lotto, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then not only that, get robbed.
Yeah, well, you sit there and you pay for it too, right? You pay $70 a day to sit inside of a public parking or a private parking lot to have your car there, knowing that at least hopefully it's underground and hopefully it's not going to get broken into, right?
Yep. Pay for it one way or the
scary.
other.
Yeah, it's just scary. I'd rather pay for it up front. I'd rather pay the $70 and not get it broken into than pay the $500 deductible to go get it repaired.
It's
plus the time and effort.
Inconvenience too. Yeah, I was driving to Target the other day. I think I probably saw 2 Teslas with the rear triangle window smashed out. Like, I know they probably just came from the city and just got robbed because that's the window they knock out and they can look in the trunk.
And again, it's just like you go back to Texas and that stuff doesn't happen because there's castle provisions. Like you can shoot somebody trying to break into a car that's not even your car.
Right.
So yeah.
Nothing in this car is worth dying over.
Exactly.
That. I know. I have the cure for cancer and AIDS in my car, so
they gotta come rob you in Arizona now.
Yep. We'll be waiting.
Well, we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week.
Dad joke of the week.
This week, Glenn's up.
All right, you guys know I love cheese, right? So what do you call cheese that isn't yours?
What?
Nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese.
Land with the Cinco de Mayo zinger.
Hey, I tried.
All right, to wrap things up, Brave allows you to copy a clean link, so use it. Merck won its case against its cyber insurance company 6 years later. Russians are going to Counterstrike for news about the war. Joe Sullivan avoids jail time. And please be street smart out there. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rate us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. My co-hosts Brian Deitch and Glenn Medina. I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bye, Felicia.
Toodles.
Have a nice day.